Thank you for tuning into the second episode of Timeoutalk. I'm your host, Michael Mark Simpson, and I'm here to switch things up a little bit. So as of now, this YouTube channel is going to be predominant pro wrestling. Honestly, it's going to be 100% pro wrestling until I start to bring in football and basketball. I'm going to be talking about pro wrestling in a lot of my videos. So from now on, it's mainly going to be about Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, NXT, All Elite Wrestling, Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, PWG, Dragon Gate. All right, so we're on to the NXT part, and don't forget, I'm here to make wrestling cool. We started off strong. This was one of the Triple H is a true genius. So we started off strong. Started off with Adam Cole versus Finn Balor for the NXT Championship. At first, Finn Balor was kind of taking over the match. Adam Cole caught him slipping when he hit him with a super kick. As they were wrestling, Johnny Gargano said, "Hey, I think now is a good time to get my revenge." Johnny Gargano came out, helped Adam Cole win the NXT Championship, even if it wasn't for Adam Cole. He didn't do it. "Hey, Adam Cole, this is for you." Johnny Gargano did it because Johnny Gargano wanted to get revenge. And this is leading up to their whatever's going on. Truth be told, I don't know if this is going to lead to a main roster thing for Johnny Gargano or if Finn Balor is just going to stay in NXT until this rivalry is done. All I do know is that Finn Balor versus Johnny Gargano, I'm very invested in that. And if you love wrestling, you should be too. Then we had Damian Priest had a rib injury from a couple of weeks ago. And Killian Dane was just trying to exploit that. He said, "Hey, why not make that rib injury worse to make my life a lot easier by beating you? By emphasizing on that rib injury." Killian Dane goes for the Vader Bomb. Damian Priest reverses it with 2 knees to the back and then gets hit with the Reckoning. Killian Dane gets pinned 1, 2, 3, loses the match. Winner goes to Damian Priest. Last week and the week before, him and Cameron have been getting into it every now and then. Took Cameron's hat. Apparently that's Cameron's most valuable possession or something because he wanted it back. Wrestled him for it. Cameron beat him because she'd have lost. Cameron gets his hat back. Congrats, Cameron. Io Shirai doing Io Shirai things. That versus Santana Garrett. It was a pretty good match. Io Shirai obviously was the dominant one in that one. It's Io Shirai, of course. She ended it with the two knees to the face. Ended it with a moonsault. 1, 2, 3. Got her out of there. And then we have Pete Dunne defeating Travis Banks. And this match was actually pretty good. Travis Banks showed that he's not going down like no chump. Pete Dunne is Pete Dunne. So ended off by Pete Dunne hitting him with a rope X-Plex off the top rope, obviously. And then, Travis Banks' day was kind of came to a bitter end, didn't it? We have the main event. Rhea Ripley versus Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler, badass. Rhea Ripley, badass. You put 2 badasses in the ring, you're going to get a great match, most likely. And that's exactly what happened here. These 2 were alphas, and they just kind of collided, and the fans were into it. Rhea Ripley was a heel in the beginning of the year, ended up being a face at the end of the year. She worked her way to that. She earned the fans' respect. And Shayna Baszler, after this match, she earned the fans' respect. She's always had the fans' respect. It's just that she always happened to be a heel. So whenever she was a heel, it makes it hard for us to cheer her. But at the end of the day, we still respected her as a performer, no matter what, because she was great at what she did. They wouldn't have gave her that championship belt for so long. She wouldn't have beat so many women if she didn't deserve to. The fans were really invested in this match. Headbutting her way into a victory. Headbutted her, and then she hit the riptide off of the second rope. And I don't think she does that often. So when she does that, she's pulling out. She's doing everything she has to. She's ensuring that she gets that win. That just shows you how much Shayna Baszler pushed her to her limit. And then we also have the Dusty Rhodes Classic coming back in 2020. Keep an eye out for that era. There was a shocking turn. That's what started everything for Roderick Strong. He might not have this NXT North American Championship if it wasn't for that Dusty Rhodes Classic. So yeah, stay tuned for that Dusty Rhodes Classic. And that's all for NXT. On to AEW. Started off with Adam Page and Kenny Omega, former members of the Bullet Club, facing the Lucha Bros. Avenge that miscommunication from last week. But during the match, it just so happens that Adam Page, it just so happens that Adam Page hit Kenny Omega with a lariat on purpose. I'm just kidding. What really happened was he went for a lariat on El Pentagon Zero. He ducked and hit Kenny Omega. That's classical. That's like the most typical way to break up 2 people or make them fight. But that's building up to something, like I said. But onto the actual subject. The match was good. It started off like that, but then it ended. And then due to the miscommunications that were going on again, El Pentagon Zero, Ray Phoenix were able to emphasize on that again. El Pentagon hit him with a pile driver, and then boom, 1, 2, 3, they got pinned. And then that's when Pac decided, hey, it's time to get in Kenny Omega's head. And then that's when Pac shows us Nakazawa's locker room, and he shows us that he kind of destroyed Nakazawa, and he's just trying to avenge him. Righty. So for the second match, we have Cody and Darby Allin defeating Butcher and Blade. Now, there was a little bit of a stipulation to this match. Darby Allin, if he and Cody win, Darby Allin gets a shot at the AEW World. I'm just kidding. That would have made sense, but weirdly, Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes, if they win this match, Darby Allin gets another shot at facing Cody Rhodes. Now, there might be another stipulation I'm missing. And then we got the killer match. Awesome Kong comes and defeats Miranda Alizé like it was nothing. And Brandy Rhodes decided she's going to take a piece of her DNA with her. I'm serious. Look. Just watching generation versus generation. You have a very young Jungle Boy who looks young. And you have Chris Jericho. And Jungle Boy looks like the younger version of Chris Jericho. It was literally like watching father versus son. Jericho had said that Jungle Boy couldn't even last 10 minutes with him. Jungle Boy took that seriously. Jungle Boy almost had him beat. Jericho does what Jericho does best. And he found a way to not lose that match cleanly because he knew Jungle Boy had his number. Jungle Boy knew he had his number. Jericho got away. Jericho tried to run from it. Typical WWE Jericho right there. I'm sorry to mention AEW and WWE, but I'm allowed to do this because I don't work for either company. Fighting for the rights of the Women's Championship. Chris Statlander versus Britt Baker. Chris Statlander ended up defeating Britt Baker with the Big Bang Theory. Yes, the Big Bang Theory. For the main event, we got a tag team classic. You have the Young Bucks versus the SCU. Now, these two have been probably wrestling for like the past 6 to 7 years. So anytime they're going to be in a match, it's going to be a good match. It's like bread and butter to them at this point. They know what they're there to do. They know each other. They know how to work off of each other. When you have when you have that in the ring, no matter what, it's going to be a good show because they don't even have to give it their all. It's going to be a good show regardless. After the match, the Dark Circle ended up invading the entire crowd. The Dark Circle ended up invading the entire ring, ambushing the Young Bucks. Reynolds and Silver ended up being unmasked, ended up joining the Dark Circle. The Dark Circle isn't gaining the most popularity, but I feel like it's one of those things where you're not going to know now until they make their impact known. Like, you're not going to cheer now. It's like the Nexus. We don't know what it is, but eventually it's going to grow. And that was the last show of AEW for the year, and it wasn't a bad way to end. Now, here's my comparison. NXT had the better show. They had 2 championship matches, and both those championship matches were like 4.5 star plus. Adam Cole and Finn Balor, Shayna Baszler and Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley's was a good match because of the reaction it received. Finn Balor and Adam Cole was just a great match, and then Johnny Gargano interfered. That made it more interesting because that leads to the build-up. Alrighty, so that's it for the second episode of Timeout Talk. I'm your host, Michael Mark Simpson, and stay tuned for the next episode.